Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Welcome to Game Time with Hubb, your all-access pass to the hottest stories in football, basketball, boxing, and wrestling. Whether it's game-winning touchdowns, buzzer beaters, knockout punches, or jaw-dropping suplexes, we've got it all covered. Here's your host, Hubb.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Game Time with Hubb. And today, we're talking about the big fight tonight that's going down in Vegas. Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, and also our Week 2 NFL picks. So let's jump right into it, y'all. Look, tonight in the desert, Las Vegas, boxing history's on the line. Both men hit the scales Friday, locked in at 167.5 pounds. Canelo Alvarez, the face of boxing for more than a decade, steps in the ring with a 63 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws record, and 39 knockouts, defending his undisputed crown at super middleweight. Across from him is Terence Crawford, the flawless, 49 wins, no losses, southpaw, with 31 knockouts, chasing history of his own. At 37 years of age, Crawford is trying to become the first male fighter in history to go undisputed in 3 weight classes. Now, people were questioning, Crawford after that flat performance last year against Madrimov, his only fight above 147. He didn't look sharp. Some say the weight is too much, but I see it different. That fight, it lit a fire under Bud. Remember, this is the same man who dismantled Errol Spence Jr. when the whole world doubted him, you know what I mean? So that competitiveness, that chip on his shoulder, this is why I'm leaning Crawford here. But Canelo is a beast. He's durable. He never shies away from the moment and always bring the pressure. Bud's surgical. He studies you, he adapts, and he breaks you down. With my pick, I'm picking Crawford by majority decision in the fight that reminds everybody why he's one of the coldest to ever do it. And I know people has been talking about the weight difference. I pretty much look at Bud, and I think Bud actually walks around at 180 pounds. So I know he loses a ton of weight to get down to the weight class that he's currently in. So I don't think him making 167 was like really crazy. My thing is, what other people also say is will he be able to handle Canelo's punching power? Now, look, we know if Canelo has to hurt Bud to win, but this is boxing. This is a game of hit and not be hit. You know what I mean? I think, Bud being surgical, he studies you and he breaks you down. I think a lot of that is going to come into factor tonight. That's why I'm picking Bud by majority the decision tonight. I think history will be made. So, hey, I'm rolling with Bud tonight. Now, let's shift gears to our NFL Week 2 picks. Now, last week, we went 14-2, 13-0 on Sunday. We already started off the week at 1-0, with the Packers beating the Commanders. And let me tell you, that Packers defense with that front 7 led by Micah Parsons, them dudes are for real. That's a legit defense over there, and it's making everything good for that secondary over there in Green Bay. Micah Parsons was getting a double. He was still coming in. Look, that dude's dominant. Remember what I said on my reel? I said he would take advantage of that rookie Connerly over there, and he sure did. I mean, he had his way back there in that backfield against Jaden Daniels, putting on a lot of pressure. But let's get into these picks, man. We're gonna start off in Baltimore, where the Cleveland Browns are coming into town to take on the Baltimore Ravens. AFC North divisional rivalry here. I look at it as the old Browns against the new Browns. You know what I mean? If you know, you know. The defense of the Browns, man, look, they showed out last week against Cincinnati. Myles Garrett looked blockable. Rookie Carson Swishinger, he was everywhere, and they held the Bengals to just 141 yards. But now they get Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense at home. Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, it's a lot over there. Mark Andrews, and they're coming off a painful collapse last week. Baltimore blew a 15-point lead in the final 4 minutes, the first team in NFL history to do it. So if you think that they're going to come out flat again, it's not a chance in that. Lamar and company bounce back. My pick is the Ravens. Now moving on to Cincinnati, where the Jacksonville Jaguars are coming into town to take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Now look, don't be fooled by the Bengals 1-0 record. They look sluggish to me against the Browns. Burrow and that offense never really got going, and the defense didn't record a single quarterback pressure in the first half. That's not going to cut it against Trevor Lawrence here. Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, and and a rejuvenated Travis Etienne. I think the Jags are going to come out swinging, man. My pick is the Jaguars. Up next, I'm looking at we're going to Dallas, where the Cowboys are welcoming in the New York Giants NFC East rivalry. Look, this one's about desperation for me. The loser going to fall to 0-2 in the division, and history said that that's a bad spot for playoff hopes. But I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb. He had 4 drops against Philly, but I don't see that happening again. The Giants defense gave up 220 yards rushing last week, and Russell Wilson looks like a shell of himself. It's only a matter of time before we see Jackson Dart. I think the Cowboys handle big business at home. I'm picking the Cowboys. Next up, we're off in Detroit, where the Lions are hosting the Chicago Bears. NFC North divisional rivalry here. Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson are still figuring things out in Chicago. They also blew that lead last week against Minnesota. But meanwhile, you got the Lions trying to shake off their own week 1 letdown from the Packers. But here's the thing. Dan Campbell's team hasn't lost a back-to-back game since 2023. They always respond, so I'm rolling with history here. I'm picking the Lions. Next up, we're going to Miami, where the Miami Dolphins are welcoming in the New England Patriots. AFC East divisional rivalry game here, and the Pats are, look, 0 for the decade in Miami, basically. But, Daniel Jones and the Colts carved up the Dolphins defense last week. Tua's inconsistent, and that Miami defense looks suspect. Until I see the Dolphins fix it, I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm picking the Pats. Next up, we're going to New Orleans, where the Saints welcoming in the San Francisco 49ers. Listen, no Brock Purdy, no George Kittle. I don't think that's a problem, man. Christian McCaffrey, Nick Bosa are enough to carry San Francisco against an aging Saints squad. Mac Jones as quarterback, he isn't flashy. And, McCorkle's going to do McCorkle, but he'll get the job done. I'm picking the 49ers. Next up, we head up to New York, where the Jets are welcoming in the Buffalo Bills. AFC East divisional rivalry here. Look, the Jets, they showed fight last week against the Steelers, but I don't think they're ready for Buffalo's firepower. I feel like Josh Allen going to keep it rolling. They're going to move to 2-0. I'm picking the Bills. Next up, we head to the Steel City, where the Pittsburgh Steelers welcoming in the Seattle Seahawks. Aaron Rodgers looked like vintage Rodgers in week 1 against the Jets. 4 touchdowns, no picks. His Steelers' home debut, that stadium going to be rocking. Towels going to be twirling. Seattle, they can put on the pressure. But if they don't finish, Rodgers is going to cook them. I'm picking the Steelers. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Rams traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Here with rookie quarterback Cam Ward, NFL initiation doesn't get any easier. 6 sacks last week against Denver. Now he got this pass rush from the Rams coming into town. That's going to be rough. Tennessee will compete, but LA is just better right now. My pick is the Rams. Now we're going to shift gears to our 4 o'clock games. Kicking off with the Arizona Cardinals at home. Coming into town is the Carolina Panthers. You got Bryce Young will test Arizona, but Kyler Murray has the edge here. Carolina's pass rush couldn't get to Trevor Lawrence last week. I think Kyler's going to make him pay. Big game for Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm picking the Cardinals. Next up, we go to Indianapolis, where the Colts are welcoming in the Denver Broncos. Listen, the Colts shocked everybody last week with their blowout win over Miami, but week 1 is always full of lies. Denver's defense is legit, and I expect Sean Payton's team to settle in. My pick, Broncos. Next up, we got the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. People are calling this Super Bowl rematch. I don't think so. 2 different teams here. Look, this one is as close to a pick'em as it can be, but my thing is, without Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, I don't think Kansas City has the weapons to expose Philly's secondary. I mean, I know they got Travis Kelce over there, but he's on the other side of his career. Juju Smith-Schuster, we don't know. So I got to lean with the Eagles here. I know they got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley in the backfield. You have to. I'm picking the Eagles. Next up, we got our Sunday Night Football. Big matchup, rematch between these 2 quarterbacks here from the NCAA National Championship game 2 years ago. Got the Atlanta Falcons coming into town taking on the Minnesota Vikings at home. Michael Penix Jr., look, he keeps his team close. But Brian Flores' blitz-heavy defense in Minnesota is a nightmare for any opposing quarterback. I'm looking at J.J. McCarthy. He steadies the ship at home. I'm picking the Vikings. Next up, we got our Monday Night Football doubleheader. Starting off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. Listen, Houston's defense is loaded, but Baker Mayfield is battle-tested. He's playing back in Texas. This feels like another close primetime win for the Bucs. I'm going Buccaneers. And we ended off with the last game of the doubleheader, the LA Chargers traveling to Vegas to take on the Raiders. Right here, classic hardball versus Carroll matchup, hard-nosed football, running game defense. But Justin Herbert is the difference maker here. Like I said last week, this is the best offense that I have seen for Justin Herbert. So I think the Chargers are going to pull it out late. In the AFC West divisional matchup here, I see the Chargers going 2-0 in the division. My pick is the Chargers. So that's the rundown, man. Canelo versus Crawford, NFL Week 2. It's a loaded weekend. Tap in. Follow Game Time with Hubb on all platforms. Game Time with Hubb on YouTube, Hubb Legacy on Instagram, Hubb Legacy on TikTok. And let's keep these picks rolling every week. So until next time, man, y'all be real, man. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Game Time with Hubb. Make sure you like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss Game Time action. See you next time.